Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode. Today we're going to be talking about the Nephilim Look Like Clowns Part 5, and it's titled Got Milk. Now the reason why I settled on that title is because when you start looking into some of these rituals involving milk, you can find connections to satanic influences, the elite, milk baths, these baptisms, if you will, by milk. And there's just these really weird connections, and some of them even involve clowns. So that's where this video comes in. Now, as I started looking into this weird connection between clowns and milk cartons and all these sorts of things, I came across this clown called Milky the Clown, who I believe was local to the Detroit area. But there was this company, I believe, called Twin Pines, and this Milky the Clown was their mascot, and he even started appearing on milk cartons. And this clown, I believe he appeared on all three major Detroit television stations, primarily in the 50s and early part of the 60s. So just a lot of coverage of this clown. He's on milk cartons, and he was, as I said, he was the mascot for this Twin Pines dairy. And apparently they kept his face on milk cartons until the 1990s. So, okay, so what, right? There's a clown associated with this dairy company and milk, and his face is on milk cartons. But, you know, as we keep looking, there's this crossover with Milky the Clown and Bozo the Clown. And when you start digging into it, you can find Bozo the Clown associated with milk and milk cartons. He was on several milk cartons as well. So there seems to be this connection between milk and these clowns. And I don't think that that's just coincidental. I believe there's always like a bigger thing happening behind the scenes. And, you know, when you start thinking about missing people, and I think this is just a scene from the movie Lost Boys, there was this other really unique phenomenon that happened. I believe it was in the 80s, and that was called the missing children on the milk cartons. There was this program that was instituted beginning in the early 1980s, where you had advertisements on milk cartons in the United States that were used to publicize cases of missing children. And I guess this campaign went on until the late 1990s. Where I'm going with this is, again, it's clowns and children always seem to be linked. And so it starts off primarily the 50s, 60s, 70s. You have the reinforcement of clowns and milk, and they're on these cartons. And then you go to the 80s, and there's this decision to put children on cartons. And, you know, these things all seem to sort of come together, and I think there's more to it. And I can see how this would be traumatic, actually. This could cause trauma. You know, you had these milk cartons at the dinner table, and your children are staring at these missing children. And that might not be the best thing, actually, because I think very few direct successes were tied to either local or national campaigns. So on one hand, I understand it's a tool to help, but was the original intention something more nefarious? Who knows? But as many as 5 billion milk cartons were printed with the images and details of missing children from around the country. So I just think there's more to this whole phenomenon, and I think it's a conditioning, you know, and once again, though, just this whole conditioning of children and clowns, and in this case, it was done through milk cartons. And milk, of all things. So just really weird. And I guess apparently faces of missing kids even adorned pizza boxes at one point. And well, we all know about, you know, this whole concept of pizza and children. And I don't want to get into it, but you guys know. So again, just doesn't seem random, does it? Now, what I want to hit on is a really interesting documentary I came across called The Clown and the Candyman. Now, I was watching this documentary, and, you know, I actually planned to stop making videos in this series, The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, But then, you just keep coming across more and more information that just seems to tie right in. So here we are. But I was watching this documentary and they were focused on John Wayne Gacy, the clown killer from Illinois. And they actually were detailing how they got a warrant to go to his house and do a search. So as they were going through his house, what they dubbed the murder home, it was filled with clown paintings and zigzag wallpaper. I mean, now if you've watched any of the previous episodes, I touch on these zigzag patterns and clowns. It's just so bizarre. And here's just some photos. There's a clown. There was a clown painting right above his bed, and he had this interesting wallpaper apparently with these zigzag patterns. Just strange, it's the context, right? These things seem to be associated with each other. And let me play you 24-second clip from this documentary, and it's just going to touch on these points.
From the time we went in, we could tell that he was marching to a different drummer, because the paint job, for example, the hall was painted brown, and then it had a zigzag gold lines going up and down through it. I mean, it was really weird. Clown pictures were everywhere. He had one right over his bed.
So yeah, very strange, very strange. Just as a refresher, we see these zigzag patterns and they seem to be associated with another dimension and possessing spirits. And there's this other phenomenon called liquid crystal polarization, and these people almost seem to be being possessed, and there's these black and white zigzag patterns. And you can even look to the American Southwest and ancient rock art, and you'll find these depictions of these really strange looking entities, and there's all these zigzag patterns on their person. And even if you look at some pottery bowls of the Anasazi, you have these really weird looking figures and these zigzag patterns. So man, it's just this context, because I think that these clowns and jesters, I think they're actually non-physical entities in an actual non-physical dimension. And as I've touched on, people see these jester type entities and they encounter clowns, jesters, and jokers while taking DMT. So I think there's a whole lot more to all of this, and just interesting stuff. And here's just another photo of the zigzag and the clown painting. And I guess John Wayne Gacy claimed to have an alter ego. So is this all a coincidence? I don't think it is, but I just wanted to present that to you guys. And now let me just hit on one video update. In a previous video, I touched upon this exhibit, this Maya exhibit, where they were showcasing a bunch of these pieces that were attributed to the Mayan Empire. And one of them was this container that quite literally looks like a clown. It's red hair, this pale-faced, and I think we're told, according to the narrative, that this is a spider monkey, but it just looks just very clownish. But this kind of prompted me to do a little bit more digging into the Mayan Empire, and of course you come across this worship of Quetzalcoatl, and you come to realize that this worship became widespread even down to the Yucatan Peninsula, where it caught on with the Maya. And then I came upon this order called the Order of Quetzalcoatl. This Order of Quetzalcoatl, known as the Q. Now, there have been other people who've come across this order, and they kind of just mentioned, obviously, how you have this order being known as the Q, and of course we have QAnon. Where did that come from? And one of their slogans apparently is, where we go one, we go all. So, again, is that random? Probably not. But for the purposes of this video, and where my focus is, it's actually, when you start looking into this order, you realize they're comprised solely of Shriners. And once again, the Shriners, they have ties to clowns and jesters. And but apparently for this order, their main contribution is towards transportation funds for Shriner Hospital. These things just keep intertwining. And yeah, just a refresher, you have the Shriners Hospitals for children where they dress up like clowns, And then there's another royal order called the Royal Order of Jesters. And that order is comprised solely of Shriners. And again, so you got jesters. You have jesters, jokers, clowns, and children. And you've got this order of Quetzalcoatl. So just bizarre, but I just wanted to bring this to you guys' attention, and this was, I guess, just a license plate. Weird, very weird. So I think that is about it for today. And once again, I just wanted to thank my patrons. I believe we are up to 34, on our way to 100. And once again, really appreciate all the support that you guys have shown me. And yeah, much appreciated. So until next time, take care. Bye.